everyone, it's Jackie at Spare Room Studio. I'm just having a play with acrylic paint markers, some different ones that I've picked up recently, and I'm colouring this book that has Shutterstock images called Beautiful Blooms, and I thought that perhaps you might be interested in seeing how I'm getting some of these effects. So this is what I've been doing. And I thought I'd just colour a little bit more on screen for you, just to give you an idea of how I'm using them. So I've got various sets of acrylic markers that I have picked up from different places in person and online. So this particular set here is Anko is the brand. It's a home brand, or home brand for a store we have in Australia called Kmart. It's a bit like Walmart in the US, and these were quite cheap. It's only a set of 24, but I do like what I've used so far. I do like the way they've been working. So I'll start with those to show you how. These ones have got a brush tip and a bullet tip. So what I do with them is I have been playing, because I started off only using these for backgrounds and doing solid saturated backgrounds with no blending. And then I started to play with them a little bit because I was just curious to see whether I could do anything more interesting with them. And I realised that some of them work better than others, and it's down to the types of nibs, I think, and also the inks or paint is very different in them. And you can play around with whether you do the light colour first and then the dark, or the dark first and then the light. You know, you have a play and see which order works best for you. And I just use the tip, the brush tip, very lightly. And this is sort of, I call it feathering, sort of just lightly putting that marker on there, just, you know, not for a very fine graduated blend, but a much rougher blend. So you can see that I've been working wet into wet there. This was all dry, and this is how it looks when you come over the top of dry paint with a lighter colour, and how you can do some different blending. So you can work wet on wet, or wet into wet, like you can with your other types of markers. Or you can do one full layer and let it dry. And once it's dry, then you come back and put that lighter layer over the top. You can also do a combination of that along with maybe doing some dots and little, you know, little flicks and sort of mark making. That's a little bit more random and abstracted. And you can just sort of keep blending those together gradually. And then I might bring in that lighter yellowy orange sort of colour and blend that in for a third colour. So it probably works easier when you're using colours that are very similar tones. If you start going really light and to really dark, just in two markers, it's going to be hard work blending that. You can also then come back with your white. Not sure if this is meant to be white or whether it's a pale grey, but I think it's more of a white. And then you can just bring in a little bit of white on there as well. And that can start to look like you've actually painted it with a brush, you know, with acrylic paint and a brush. Now that layer there is dry, so then I can come back over with a lighter colour once that first layer was completely dry and blend it that way. And play around and see what sorts of nibs that you like, whether you like the bullet tips or the brush tips. The brush tips I find don't tear up the paper anywhere near as bad as what the bullet tips do. You don't want to scrub away with a bullet tip because it does disturb the surface of the paper a lot. So that was that Anko brand. I've got some here that are called, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it, but G-U-A-N-G-N-A, Gongna maybe, and they were from Temu and very, very cheap, and these have got a very different brush tip and consistency to those last ones that I just showed you, and the colour isn't overly opaque in these ones either, so they blend a little bit differently to the first ones. So keep in mind the different brands do feel quite different, and the consistency and makeup of their inks are quite different, and definitely the different types of nibs change the experience that you have quite a bit, I think. Okay, so that's something like that. I've also got another cheap set that came from Temu. That is a much smaller marker, and it's like a little bullet tip marker. And it's only got the one tip. They're very small. This is a set of 60 colours. Again, very reasonably priced, quite cheap. This bullet tip feels different, completely different. But the makeup of the ink seems quite different as well, and that's, you know, already starting to disturb that surface of the paper. And don't forget, you can mix and match different sets. If you've got you know, a couple of small sets that are limited in colour, play around it whether they work together nicely and can supplement each other. So I find with this particular set, you know, you can't scrub back and forward with the nib because it just tears that paper up really badly. So that's going to be much better at being left to dry. Wait for it to dry and then do some blending. This is another set This is a 36 set. And it says XM Beck, BECC, acrylic marker, 36 colours. And this one's got a brush tip and a bullet tip. So a smaller bullet tip and a brush tip. This one feels like it's the ink is a lot more wet, but it's not as thick and opaque as some of the others. So with that brush tip, it's definitely easier to work wet in wet and blend your colours. Oh, I've got some of my lids mixed up here. So let's put that on the side. There we go, there's the culprit. So like with anything that you use, there's a bit of a learning curve with them, I think. I feel like, you know, I've needed to play with these, you know, to get a feel for how they work and how they might suit me best. It hasn't been just as simple as jumping in and using them. They're okay for a background to use that way. You know, if you're going to colour in a solid background, yeah, fine, just use them like any old marker. And I like how quick and how it speeds things up using them for a background like that. But if you want to get a little bit more value out of your acrylic markers, then think about whether you could perhaps use them to colour more parts of the image than just the background. I'm just going to get a darker colour here, if it is darker. So if you've got a book like this, which I call my playbook or test book, where I don't expect to create masterpieces in it every single time, that can be really handy for testing out something like this. I didn't want to invest too much money into acrylic markers until I knew that I was really going to get some value out of them or enjoy using them, because I wasn't even sure if I would enjoy using them. In the past I've used Posca paint pens and sort of other brand paint pens in black for backgrounds, but I hadn't really coloured in anything like a full image with them. And I just didn't know whether I really needed to invest too much money into it, because I didn't know how I was going to use them. I still don't think I will invest a lot of money into a set. These cheaper ones have achieved what I've set out to do. I don't know that I would colour a whole page, a whole image with the markers this way, but it's certainly good to mix things up and get a bit of variety. I do enjoy bringing in a little bit of this somewhere. Yeah, I don't know, I'm not sure that I can justify spending too much money on them when these cheaper ones have actually just done, you know, a pretty good, pretty reliable job so far. And between these cheaper sets, I've got a decent array of colours now that you know, I can get some blends going. I can mix and match and use them in a way that, you know, I can get some of these different looks going without the huge outlay. So there you go. I hope that has been of some use. I don't know that you will see me colour, as I say, you know, a full page on camera using them. But they certainly are a very good supplement to bring some interest into a page. They're also very handy for those very quick, simple backgrounds if you want a, you know, solid colour background and you don't want to waste too much time. So you can see how that's starting to look there, where you just keep building up those little strokes of colour. Oh, I was going to show you how the white could be used perhaps. So not all the sets have got a fabulous white, and you can use your finger to smear and smudge, and if the colour's a bit too bold, take the edge off of it with the tip of your finger that way. And think about using them in the direction of any lines that are there already. Do your strokes in the same sort of direction so that you know, it fits in and it makes a bit of sense. So that's with the white, you can do that, and you can also do that with a darker colour as well. You get into a bit of a mess, but that's not really dark enough red. Let's have a look. No, none of those are looking any darker, are they? So maybe we could try, just for a bit of interest, let's try putting a bit of purple in there. So you could do that, or bring in a little bit of blue maybe. So, you know, little touches of blue in there. You know, remember that you don't have to do everything in those realistic colours all the time. And I'm not sure if I've got something that looks like a fluorescent. Oh yeah, what's this one here? Yeah. So then, you know, for that little extra pop of brighter colour, maybe bring in that little touch of fluorescent here and there as well. So you don't necessarily have to use lots of these colours, but just every, you know, now and then bring in something unexpected. So you can see how that purple just has given it a bit of depth, and just really works nicely against the red to give your eyes something different to sort of rest on for a while. So there you go. Let me know what you think. Have you used acrylic markers for anything other than backgrounds? Or do you only use them for simple block colouring, or have you tried something like this? Have you got a different method that perhaps you might be able to share with me that I can try for something different as well? Let me know. I'd be interested to hear. As I say, I'm not sure that I will be investing too much more money in acrylic markers. With what I've got here now, I've got more than enough for the time being, I think. And I've been really happy with the quality of what I've got. I don't see any need at this stage to invest too much more, but you know, we'll see how time goes, and as things become available on the market, whether I change my mind with that. But yeah, I'm quite happy with those for the time being. So thanks for joining me. I hope that has been of use to somebody, and I look forward to seeing you again really soon. I'll say goodbye for now. Take care, everyone. Bye now.